Welcome back to the Nintendo 64 Diaries, a limited series here in the year 2026 on Call Me By Your Game, where I, your host, Connor McCabe, am inviting past guests back to the podcast to hear from them about what their relationships are like with the Nintendo 64 as it is turning a mere 30 years old a little later this year. This is episode 3, where we've got a lot of fun stuff planned for you. I'll introduce our guests in just a second, but if you want to hear a little recap of my whole history and my best friend growing up's history, listen to episodes 1 and 2. Just scroll back in the Call Me By Your Game feed, and you will find them. I'm planning to do this once a month throughout the year, so it's pretty much the last episode that will come out each month will be a little N64 personal retrospective. A little bit of housekeeping up top for the podcast is that if you want to support Call Me By Your Game, you can do that a couple of ways. You can share this podcast with a friend, whether they love the Nintendo 64 or whatever we've talked about on previous episodes. And you can also support us over on Patreon. We're over at patreon.com/Super NPC Radio, and that's a place where if you throw us a few dollars a month, you get bonus video game podcasts, and there's a bunch of different tiers that you can do that at. If you are like, oh my gosh, I'm really missing just kind of a community, and I want to just be listening to people talk in sort of a book club style format about one game at a time. Well, folks, let me interest you in our $5 DJ Toad tier, where we just wrapped up the Fire Emblem Awakening Games Club. We covered the 3DS tactical RPG, Fire Emblem Awakening, and starting not this week, but I believe the following, it'll debut April 10th, whenever that is, we are going to be covering Batman Arkham Asylum. So buckle up for that, where fortunately nobody else besides me on this podcast are going to be talking about it, but go and consider supporting us there. And if you want to see what that series is like without paying, you can do that too over at the Super NPC Games Club free podcast feed, wherever you get your shows. You can also follow us on Instagram. There's a bunch of ways to support us. It's all in the show notes, including anything my guest might plug today. I'm intentionally ignoring one of my guests right now. I'll just have you know. Oh, the hand was pulled down. The fun thing about these episodes is that normally when I'm doing an introduction, this is really actually going to be helpful that this is in a different visual format for the YouTube watchers. Normally it's just me on screen, so that would have been funny because a guest would have popped up into the screen and I would have been off. But now we've all been on here the whole time I've been talking. Let's introduce him, and let's just call him the person. He had his hand raised. Let's see here. Game designer and haver of 2 older brothers, Jacques Mouledoux.
Great introduction. Thank you, Connor. I was just saying, when you said book club, that got me nervous. There's no books in this games club, right?
We only allow player's guides. That's the only kind of books we allow.
All right, cool. I don't like books. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And thank you for raising your hand so politely. We're also joined...
I thought we were bringing the Nintendo 64 anthology. I thought we were reading that as part of the assignment.
It's actually, we are canceling the Batman Arkham Asylum book club. We're going to be just reading the book that Grant has there. It's Arcade Machine Reviver, Grant Moore.
Thank you.
We just got a timid wave for the audio listeners and then a quiet thank you after that. Guys.
I'm just so excited I had a book that was relevant.
Yes, just at the ready. This will mean nothing to you, Grant, but that was a very July Diaz move to have something relevant to pull off from beyond the camera and show to us for the video viewers. Guys, look what I did. I brought 2 friends here who have each different relationships with the N64. This is the first time I brought on multiple people for this format. Grant, on your episode last year, your solo episode of Call Me By Your Game, where we discussed the Simpsons arcade game, I'm pretty sure a little bit of Jacques Mouledoux came up because Jacques was one of our connections to being, I guess we'll say, familiar with each other, or one of our 2 biggest mutual friends, I would say. And I mean, he's our degree,
our Kevin Bacon degree, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. On the first N64 Diaries episode, I even talked about, just briefly touched on our beautiful night at Grant's home where we were playing little N64. So guys, I wanted to bring you together. Here you are. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Very glad to be here.
I know I gave you 2 such illustrious introductions. Before we really dive into the N64 of it all, what do you want to share about yourselves? Do you have anything to plug today? Jacques, I'll start with you. I introduced you first. What do you want to tell the listeners?
Well, I'll just say that Grant and I know each other from working on the reboot of iCarly, which we were both assistants on together, and worked really crazy hours. It was an insane job. Also really fun. We both wrote lots of great jokes for the show, and that's how I know Grant, and it's been a treat working together and being friends.
So, Grant, you got to say something just as nice and just as effusive.
I can't wait.
We worked many long nights. I have long videos of Jacques being delirious. It also was pretty close to the pandemic, so we were all in masks the whole time. And the season before, we were all on Zoom. So, no, it was. I think it's a testament to how great that at least the writing staff on that show was, because all the assistants, all the people on the lower end all still hang out pretty regularly and get together once or twice a year, which is a lot of fun. So.
For sure.
I mean, without even blowing up the specific thing you brought up earlier, you were talking about one of your co-workers, your co-friends earlier before we even started recording. So I can say for the listener, Grant's telling the truth.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would never
lie. You guys
lie.
are also kind of matching today. You have like the same exact gray.
I was gonna point it out. We wore the same shirt.
Dude, is yours? What company is yours? Mine's Target.
Oh, mine's J. Crew.
Fancy boy.
Ooh.
Fancy
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah,
One
we all-
upper.
so
Grant is a
sorry.
one upper. You got to know that about him.
Grant's
And
a
you gotta
one-upper.
know that if you wait till J. Crew stuff goes on sale, you can get these really sick T-shirts for like maybe $4 a pop.
Damn, that's a
Ooh.
hack.
Even below target prices. So we actually just had the power dynamic flip. First I thought Grant was in charge. Now it's Jacques.
Oh yeah.
I feel like a millionaire.
And I don't mean to put either of you down, but I'm wearing a Madewell white T-shirt. So I kind of think I one up even Grant in that respect.
You're the
Yeah,
alpha.
literally. I didn't even realize Madewell and J. Crew were the same company, but they are.
Are they actually?
Yeah, they're owned by the same company. Madewell's like the high end.
Is
J.
everything
Crew.
just a monopoly now?
It's just BlackRock.
Yes.
It's all
Yeah,
BlackRock.
Yeah.
Yes. It's going to fund weapons of mass destruction.
Hell yeah.
Guys, I'm so glad you both could be
$4.
here. I'm really excited to get into more N64 stuff today as we continue the N64 Diaries. First, I want to start with some early memories for each of you. Coincidentally, Jacques has had 2 solo episodes on the Call Me By Your Game feed, as I've started to have past guests back in the last year and a half or so. And also, funny enough, I would say that, Jacques, I feel like you expressed to me that the N64 is not even your favorite console, but for some reason, you had really special memories tied to at least 2 games, and that's why you discussed them on the pod.
Yeah, it's definitely it's one of my favorite systems. I have such great memories with it, obviously. But yeah, I wouldn't even say it's like Super Nintendo or even like PS1 in terms of its like status in my memory.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really dear to me, and I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, and then Grant, we'll be visiting this heavily later, but you have a lot of present day experience with the console as well, which is kind of like had my juices flowing and had me even more excited about it too. But Jacques, going back to you really quick, talking about some of your early memories of the N64, I'm sure we're going to tread on a path that we've been down before, inevitably today. But what are some of your earliest memories of the N64, even though I know kind of the answer to this question?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll say I'm 41, so I was 11 when it came out, which I feel like is, I mean, y'all are close enough and similarly fun young ages, but like, yeah, it was sweet for this to come out because it was this whole new level up from all the systems before it. And before it even came out, there was so much press about it. There were pictures of Mario 64. I remember we were using Prodigy, which was a precursor to America Online, to connect to the internet. And we found like websites that had pictures of like Tomb Raider and then later Super Mario 64. And you were like, what? I remember one of my aforementioned older brothers being like, you can control all of his limbs separately. And me being like, that's crazy. That's so fun. Even though you're like, that would be a nightmare and not fun at all.
Yes, they made games like that, and they are punishing.
Yes. And I remember we were really excited about it. And there was this place called Game Station in Metairie, which is the main suburb of New Orleans where I grew up. And it's called Game Station. And they had the Japanese imported system and Mario 64 in this like back room. And you could pay extra to get 10 minutes of time with it.
Wow.
And I remember my brothers and I all paid, and we played, and they went and they like played levels and stuff because they figured out to jump into the paintings. I didn't. So I just spent 10 minutes running around that main area.
Yes.
And when I say it was like incredible and enthralling and like, I'm not saying anything groundbreaking, but like those controls were better than any game that had ever happened before. Like we had Resident Evil at our house on PlayStation 1, which famously feels terrible.
Yeah.
And then so to play Mario 64 was just like, oh my God.
Yes.
It was awesome.
I'd argue they still haven't really topped the original Super Mario 64 in terms of like just feel good controls. I feel like I still fire up that game occasionally and
I love it.
Just doodle around,
Definitely a ton of reasons why it's stood the test of time for a lot of us, for sure. Jacques, I'm kind of stuck on this. I think you've told me about the story about the place where you could go and each play some of the Japanese import of the N64. And now I'm really stuck on the idea that it was like one at a time. Like you couldn't go in with them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were just like, it was probably like, in my memory, it was adults, but it was probably like 15-year-olds running this place. And it was like them being like, this is actually top secret. We're probably not even allowed to do this, which is like not true and no one cares.
Sure.
But I remember it like literally going into this like curtained off area and playing and then like seeing the Japanese text and then, that opening and the outside the castle.
That's amazing. Grant, I can't recall if we specifically talked about some of your earliest memories of the N64, but did you have similar anticipation as a kid like Jacques of this console coming?
Yeah, definitely. Well, somewhat. We touched on it a little bit, but I was 5 when the console came out, so I was a little bit younger and not paying as much attention. But I was a Prodigy family. Shout out Prodigy.
Wow.
And by Prodigy, I mean the internet service, not I was a prodigy.
Yeah.
Far
He was
from
a wonder.
it.
Grant's underselling himself. He was a wonderkin. You know those scenes where someone's playing 12 chess matches at once? That was great.
Yeah.
And they're young.
I played 2 N64 controllers.
Yeah, you actually invented the control scheme for like Perfect Dark with 2 controllers or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Grant's a celebrity.
But my earliest, I think we touched on it a little bit way back, but yeah, I got an N64 in 1997, so pretty early on. It was like definitely a year after. And the 2 games that my parents got that I talked about before was Mischief Makers and Chameleon Twist, which are 2 very oddball cult classics now. But they were very strange at the time. And I do remember like being befuddled that I didn't get Mario 64, even though I was 6. And I do remember, having an allowance and saving it up and then going to Best Buy and buying the game. And the person at Best Buy was like, if you wait 3 weeks, this game will be half off because it'll be part of the like player's choice or whatever. So I was doing this right around whenever that was in 97. And I was like, no.
I want it now.
I have $60. I'm the
now.
richest person alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 weeks is a long time as a kid.
Yeah.
Even now.
It might have been even shorter. I just remember he was like, if you wait a week, maybe 2 weeks, it was somewhere around there, 3 weeks.
This guy's never
like,
given
if
advice
you wait,
to someone. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be
He
half
never
off
once
and you can
again.
get 2 games.
He's like,
Grant's
look,
like, shut up.
yeah.
Yeah. What are you doing?
I'm about to change your life, kid.
Also,
I
Another great
Yeah.
quick N64 story about checking out, only because this is so on topic. Years later, I would get Banjo-Kazooie with my grandfather, who like took me to Walmart and bought it for me. And I remember the cashier at Walmart being like, "Are you sure you want to get this for him? When he kills enemies, they disintegrate into a bunch of different body parts." Which is very true, actually, in the
Yes.
game. They like come apart and things, but like definitely was like way oversold what that game was. And I would have been 7, me 7 arguing like, no, it's not bad.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
I
so
thought about that a
crazy.
couple of years ago. I was like, that's kind of crazy, that Walmart person.
What a narc.
They're trying to total narc energy, trying to protect you, I guess. Who knows?
I don't that or just trying to ruin my day because I was
Yeah, I
so
think
excited about Banjo-Kazooie.
It's such a tame
probably.
game.
Yes.
It's such a tame
Yeah,
video
it
game.
is.
I'm imagining the first employee that you interacted with as like a 17-year-old who's just learned how to spend his little expendable income, and the other person is, I don't know, a 40-year-old parent who is like, I'm seeing too many bad kids get influenced by video games these days. I mean, it's Walmart.
Yeah, I
so who
definitely remember
knows?
it definitely was a younger person, so probably just someone
Scratch what I said.
being cruel.
Yes. I was kind of hoping I might have a little Banjo-Kazooie segue because I just started playing that game. Not for the first time. I've played it a little bit throughout my history with video games, or I guess throughout my life. That sounded very strange. But I actually had my entry into the series with Tooie. Have either of you played any of Banjo-Tooie?
Mm-mm.
Grant,
I just
what was your
replayed both of them on the Switch when they came out.
Oh,
so,
you
yeah.
did? Dude, so
Yeah.
Tooie, I came to understand, this was not my experience as a kid, that it is much bigger and bloated and a lot less focused than Kazooie. Did that feel true when you played it?
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think
Yeah.
Banjo-Kazooie is probably a tighter game, but I don't know. I still think it's a great sequel. I know there's people
Yeah.
that don't like it, but especially if you play them in order, I feel like, I don't know, it makes sense to me.
Especially back then when a lot of sequels were kind of just, let's make it a little bigger, a little better. A lot of that same stuff happened with like Spyro 2, Crash 2, different styles of games. But anyway, I started playing that, Kazooie, and because I'm going to be covering it for an episode in April, so I'm really excited about that. So, I mean, I know I talked about the Patreon already, but patrons, get ready to hear a bonus episode about Banjo-Kazooie. We got a little lay of the land from you two on some of your...
Well, also,
Yes.
Connor, while you're talking about Banjo-Kazooie, you're
Yes.
going to love, in a July Diaz moment, I'm going to try to put up a record or a counter right now of things I'm grabbing off screen.
Oh, yeah, let's see.
Almost perfectly, my coworker literally just gave me this last week because he is also an N64 enthusiast.
Whoa!
It's the trophy from Banjo-Kazooie. It's someone off Etsy, I guess, made it. I don't even know where it came from,
What
but
do you
I was
do?
like, that's an incredible gift.
Oh, is that the
Wow.
extra
So
life?
shout out to Nick. Yes.
That's so cool. Is this the same person who got you the 3D printed Mario model?
No, I don't think so. But I do have that here. And maybe if we get on topic, I'll have a new one to show too.
Okay,
It's like I almost have enough toys, like just off screen.
And I have this this
Yeah,
like,
Jacques, come on.
highlighter. I have like a highlighter you can't really see.
Ooh.
Actually, I
What-
think this is like anti-nail biting stick because it tastes disgusting. That I put on to try and stop biting my nails, which I should do. And then I tried cooking while having this on my fingers, and all the
Oh.
food tasted like poison.
Oh, no.
So that's a fun, relevant fact for this. Anyway,
Well, now I don't even feel like making fun of his Target shirt. If he would have saved his money and gone to J. Crew, he could afford toys for his desk.
true. Fuck.
It's true. Well, I hope we get back on top and get to see another cool toy from Grant at some point. But we've got a little bit of the lay of the land from each of you about some early experiences with the N64. I think I want to pivot to the big elephant in the room and talk about our experience together a few months ago playing with Grant's Analog 3D, the analog product that came out, I think, at the end of last year, Grant?
Yeah, that seems right.
Pretty recently, yeah. Analog's Nintendo 64 like hardware, which is incredible. And some of the fun we had that night is what I want to dig into, because Grant, I feel like that is so relevant to your current experience with the console and this sort of deep dive, I might say, that you've been on. But can you do me a favor and talk a little bit about the Analog 3D and what prompted you to get at least one?
Yeah, so I heard about it a while ago, and it just basically was like, I couldn't even tell you the specifics of like FGPA, I think it's called, how they basically recreated it. But basically saw, this would have been over a year ago, like an advertisement that someone had crafted a 4K N64 essentially that just kind of runs seamlessly on modern hardware, just because, the old stuff from 30 years ago usually still works, but it's kind of hard to get running and look good. And
on like
they don't
a modern
really make
display.
TVs. Right. They don't really make TVs that focus on VGA anymore. On top of which, like N64 games with how, they were designed around tube TVs and CVTs, and, they were designed around kind of hiding some of the imperfections, and now you get this crystal clear emulation or whatever, and it's definitely janky. So the Analog also has like filters, and it had things called overclocking that help run games better than they originally ran. So just kind of smoothing out some of the hard edges and limitations of the time while still offering Bluetooth controllers. That was another one. Another big seller. That was kind of like, okay, I don't have to deal with that anymore.
Grant, when you're struggling in a game, do you ever overclock it extra hard just to give you that extra juice to get through a level?
Mostly to like just have modern frame rates. Yes, I'll mostly just default to cranking it up as high as possible, which was great until, and I think I told you this, I replayed Diddy Kong Racing, and you face a boss towards the end of that game, and I did not know that the boss was tied to the frame rate of the game. So like I spent hours like cursing my television. I was like, how is this possible? And then looked online, and people were like, oh yeah, you can't edit the frame rate here, or you'll never be able to beat him. And I was like, oh, well, that serves me right. So,
Yeah.
That explains why this felt impossible.
Yeah. So it was just something I saw, and then it got delayed and delayed and delayed, and everyone was like, this is a ripoff. And then out of nowhere, it just kind of quickly dropped, and it's great. It, I don't know. It was just a way to, I don't have an N64 here in California, it's back home, but I kind of was like, yeah, a modern way to play games. And I also got what's called a summer cart, which is basically like quietly just has all the games in one place, so you can play games or ROM hacks on it. And it's just definitely the nerdiest thing I've done in quite some time. My wife likes to make fun of me.
Super Mario 64 hacks? I'm sorry, keep going.
Yes. Well, I was just gonna say my wife's definitely made fun of me, but every time I bust it out, everyone's lives for it.
Yes.
So I think the console just in general lives, I don't know. It just is like not the first, I guess PlayStation was earlier, but like one of the first 3D multiplayer focused consoles. I think it has a place in everyone's heart, even if they didn't, for me, it's nostalgic because it was kind of like the one I grew up with to start.
Sure.
And, the GameCube was probably more for me what it was, the N64 was for Jacques. But like, it's still like, it's hard to, that's true. I want to speak for you. How dare I? but just that kind of like excitement, like the next thing's coming. I was too young at the start of the N64, but like really like getting hyped up on that. And I think the GameCube also was kind of like the last big jump. After that, it's been pretty minimal.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe.
I think another bit of context around N64 coming out. I know we're jumped to the present.
No, please.
Is Toy Story came out like maybe a year before that. So we were in the age of like 3D media is this fun new frontier that's exciting. And there had been a couple video games, obviously on PlayStation and stuff like that. But I feel like that was the feeling, was like, we're not in 2D anymore. 2D, I feel like 2D actually became really not chic for video games for a good stretch there. And then it was just like the era of 3D, and it was awesome.
Yes. I mean, you were touching on that excitement, Jacques, a little earlier in your sort of preface moment where we got into it, your preamble rather. And I think you are hitting the nail on the head with something about why that felt so special at the time to make the jump from 2D to 3D on a home, at least for home consoles. I think that was a huge reason why I was excited about the console too. Video games for me at the time were a very casual hobby, but they were on like a level playing field with all my other hobbies like drawing and sports and cartoons or what have you. But it was this era, and specifically this is one of the big reasons why I started this series. The N64 was it grabbed me a hold of me so hard. Again, I don't know why I'm phrasing things the way I am, but it gripped me in such a way that I was absolutely just captured by it, like a lot of kids. And seeing a familiar face, Mario, who I already really loved in 2D, and just little pixel sprite, seeing him running around in 3D was just otherworldly to me. And I think a lot of people shared a similar experience by seeing that. And yeah, it was just something about this era too that you said of Toy Story coming out and seeing all the digital 3D graphics, digital effects in movies were really taking a big step up. I think of some explicit answers or examples such as like Jurassic Park was a big movie for me as a young kid. And so there was something about, wow, we're finally there. Graphics are perfect now because they're 3D. And little did we know it would just be the thing that we'd kind of be iterating on forever and ever. And now we kind of find ourselves in this era of diminishing returns on at least photorealistic graphics.
Yeah.
Sure.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Were you going to say something else, Jacques?
No.
Okay, great. You kind of, the way I was reading your head movement wrong, but thinking about coming back a little bit, Grant's trying to pump fake me basically now. Coming back to the present day, and we can, and I'd like to keep going back in time because I have a few more questions I want to ask you too. But Grant, I would love to know for you, with your experience bringing this analog into your life and playing with the what was the name of the cart that you have again?
It's called the Summer Cart.
Summer Cart, just so we can get it in writing for any lawyers out there.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the most? What has been the fun for you with experiencing this? Has it been dipping into games you've never played? Has it been toying around with some of the hacks like you've experienced with games you're familiar with?
Mostly the ROM hacks lately, just because that's like a scene that, and I'm new to that scene only as an observer. Like I don't know a whole lot about it, but like, that scene has really exploded over the last 5 years of like, I guess like consumer level programming has gotten to the point where people are reverse engineering N64 games now and like doing it from the like bottom up. And like in doing that, they understand how the games run specifically so they can really make these kind of hacks and changes to them. Like one of the most impressive ones that I showed you guys was like someone figured out how to make 2-player co-op in Super Mario 64. And you can literally run that on the original console. And it's just kind of like, someone... very dedicated people have taken the time to go in and kind of add to these games that are so solidified as something in our heads and like another one I played recently with another group of friends was
What?
I found one. I know. I'm so sorry.
I kind of touched on that earlier, and I was gonna just let it go, but it's been brought up multiple times now.
And just a testament to Naysay, my wife, for calling me a nerd. It's different groups too. There's like 3 or 4 different 4-player groups of people who like all just know, the history of this and like playing a game that's 30 years old. That but we played. Someone went in and like redid the battle mode in Mario Kart 64 and like made it all these additional like things to it, like capture the flag or computer controlled characters or all these things that are not in the original game, custom maps. And it's just kind of like, oh, someone, it's kind of like nostalgia plus almost of like, it's like going back to it, but at the same time someone's gone in and kind of fixed or added to some of the limitations.
It's a real a lot of what I've experienced and what I experienced with you and have heard about from you feels like an extreme labor of love for this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how people have this much free time, to be honest. And I say that with love of like, I am only impressed. The other one that like definitely need to name drop that I don't understand how it works is there's one called Smash Remix where they basically added like 40 characters to the original Smash Brothers. And they're like things you would expect from like Sonic or Crash Bandicoot, which is weirder, to the Mad Piano from Super Mario 64.
Yes.
Which, we all played it together. It's crazy. And,
it was awesome. I love that one. I thought that was so fun. That was the one that I was like, oh, you could really sink a lot of hours into this mod. Because it was like they made it, and it's like, you could tell they also, I mean, the piano was pretty damn strong, but like you could tell they didn't just like make it and then like forget about it. They were like, there was some thought towards balancing. You know what I mean? Like these are people who are like, they take it really seriously in a way that I like love.
Yeah.
I echo that, Jacques. I was telling people about this experience for weeks after we were over at Grant's playing it. And for me, I mean, I was so impressed by so much. The different modes they added to the game, like the basketball mode that they added to it. All of the stages, too, alongside the characters. And as someone who grew up, like, really just playing wearing out the cartridge of the original Smash 64 and loving it, it was so fun to see something that was kind of like my wildest dream at the time of like, well, what if you could have this and you could play on this stage, or just things you would imagine as a kid. That's, I don't know, Grant, you maybe touched on it earlier of, I don't know, it kind of feels like it's going to mix, it won't mix up my memories of the game because I can differentiate Smash Remix from the original, but it is just, I don't know, giving it another dimension, maybe, that whole experience.
Yeah. I'm just picturing these forums that must exist of these people who just have insane technical knowledge and insane nostalgia and this like cross section of like master programmers who are just like able to, like, the fact that you, like you said, just like they were pushing the limits of this console, and then someone was like, oh, you can actually play co-op Super Mario 64 and it runs great. You're just like, it's like, wow.
Gosh, it was fun too when we were over there. This is kind of just me reminiscing a little bit, but having Grant sort of basically get out like a charcuterie board of games for us to enjoy, and being like, okay, so we've had a little bit of this and a little bit of this, but what if I showed you Mario Kart 64 and the things they added to that game? And even that was absolutely a delight and kind of a marvel to see and play those courses.
Yeah, Grant kept saying, what if it was Mario Kart 64, but it was a little twisted? And he kept saying that to us, and we were like, all right, let's just play the damn game.
Yeah, it's not really as twisted as he wants us to think, but...
Yeah.
What if it's Pokemon this ain't Snap, your mama, but a little twisted?
Yeah.
And everyone went, no.
Yeah.
No.
Grant, have you made any recent discoveries, or had you already, like with the stuff you have over there, or had you already sort of combed through all of the possibilities at the time that we hung out? I'd love to know if you have stumbled on something new or just been interacting with it in a new way recently.
Connor, are you trying to get invited back? Is that what you're saying? You want
I
to
mean,
get invited back for another night?
We don't live
Another
that
night
far.
of barbecue and N64?
Yeah. A couple of good
God,
things.
the barbecue. The barbecue was also great. What a lovely treat.
It was twisted.
It was twisted. Connor kept being like, before we
There
got on this call, being like, should we all share our calendars with each other? Just like for no reason. Should we share our calendars?
Like, a screenshot's fine.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, I did find some more stuff. I like I said, my coworker who really likes I convinced him to get an analog
Nice.
3D when they did that drop. They've done a few more drops. I think they might still be available, whatever the latest one was. And I put together a summer cart with him with some of those like things installed, and I did like a pass on things that I hadn't really looked at before. And there's a ton of things, like there were a bunch of Banjo-Kazooie ones that are pretty crazy. Like someone recreated Ocarina of Time. I think I showed you guys that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Recreated Ocarina of Time in Banjo-Kazooie. But then they've also got like one based on the Blair Witch Project mixed with Banjo-Kazooie, and it's wild. It's like some of them, I haven't had time really to like get through the long list, but yeah, there's a lot of them out there, and I've definitely found a handful more since we played a few months ago. And I'm, they're always coming out with new stuff all the time. And especially with this decompiling, they call it, or recompiling. I don't even really know the name exactly, but basically when they build one of the games from the ground up, like they just did Star Fox 64 recently, I think.
Whoa.
And then it's like, it's going to blow the door open on what they can do on that. And my pipe dream, I know it's like impossible based on how that game is structured, but 4-player co-op on that game be incredible.
That's always been my dream.
Like,
I'm not even joking. That's been my dream for Star Fox 64 is like make a sequel where it's that, but 4-player co-op. Oh,
yeah. It's like, it's right there. I don't know why Nintendo hates Star Fox, but
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, what did Fox McCloud do to Shigeru Miyamoto? It's a question we'll probably be asking for a long time.
Yeah.
Star Fox Zero is the answer.
That's the Wii U title.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I wanted to ask Grant, since I've got a pretty good idea of how you still interact with the console presently, Jacques, I wanted to turn to you and find out what it's like for you. Do you revisit this at all? Are you playing via the Switch online ever? Do you dip into stuff for fun? Have you played a whole game? Tell me.
I played it via emulation throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
I remember even as far back as college, which was like 2000. I want to say this was in 2007. I played Ocarina of Time. I know you were like, "What are you doing nowadays?" And I'm like,
No,
"Cool."
please.
So back in 2007, I played Ocarina of Time, but it wasn't just Ocarina of Time. It was like upgraded graphics. Like the mod scene was already rampant, and it was like I played it and it had better graphics than the original, upgraded textures and stuff. And then throughout the years, I've gone back, especially with Super Mario 64, which is like such a sacred game for me. I've probably gotten 120 stars 7 or 8 times. I will go back through emulation for that. Most recently, when I bought a Steam Deck 3 or 4 years ago, I enjoyed putting all the N64 ROMs on it because I didn't have the fancier Nintendo Switch Online for whatever reason. It's not even that expensive. But and then I recently I got Super Mario 3D All-Stars and played Mario 64 again on that. And now I'll just like dip into like Wave Race or occasional games on the Switch Online.
Yeah, you had also mentioned, as you're talking, I'm remembering you got into Mario Tennis. Was that just a recent experience, or did you grow up playing that too?
No, I didn't. But I had a few friends over. I know I'm pulling a Grant now, and we were playing. we played a few video games, but then Aaron Seeks, a mutual friend of ours, he was like, I always loved Mario Tennis on N64. Can we play that? And like we did, and I actually like didn't have a nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
And we played it, and I would say that game is just like a 10 out of 10. It's so fun. It's, as someone who played a bunch of Mario Tennis Aces, I'm like, I think this one's just better. It's a masterpiece. So then that prompted me, and I played a good bit of Mario Golf too, which I think is fun. It's not quite as, I mean, it's still fun by yourself, but I didn't stick with that one quite as much. But they're both great, and I love Mario Tennis 64 so much.
That's one I had a pretty
one thing
heavy experience with. Go ahead, Grant.
Well, I was just gonna say one thing I did recently with the analog was play an 18-hole 4-player Mario Golf, and I highly recommend. It's incredible.
That's
and a perfect example of another. There's not like any hacks for Mario Golf other than like making the transfer pack characters available. Those like 4 slots that if you had the Game Boy Color version of the game, you could unlock. And that's kind of another way that people are like, because it's like, in this day and age, how are you ever going to make that happen? And so they're kind of, it's almost like historians in a way of like, oh yeah, there's all this locked content. And but anyway, highly recommend both those titles. They kind of peaked on the GameCube, I feel like, because the graphics got a little better and they weren't doing crazy stuff like running around. But sorry, just chiming in with Jacques. I agree with Jacques for once.
I know. Let's all remember this moment 41 minutes into the podcast where the impossible happened. I, too, love both of those games. They're designed by Camelot, I believe was the developer, and had them both, still have my original copies for the N64. Played a lot more of Mario Tennis because I was just better at that game, but Mario was the character I would use. I got him to like the star. If you basically won every tournament with a character, you could turn them into like a super powered version, and you held like a button when you selected them. And so Mario was just like hitting tennis balls at 120 miles per hour.
Yeah, and great. He gets muscles. He gets like huge muscles, and he becomes like what they call Beefcake Mario.
Yeah, the sleeves break off.
Yeah, he looks really good, and he's like Yahoo.
Okay, wait, Jacques, so wait. I think you did play that ROM hack. I think you did. That is a ROM hack.
Yeah. There was a moment just on that front. There was a hilarious moment when Odyssey came out, and people did this version. Like someone made a joke version where they made Mario look like kind of like a Jersey Shore Italian, where he had like chest hair and a chain. And it was a funny thing someone made as a joke. And then the gay community was like, wait, is Mario super hot? And like there was this whole contingent on various subreddits being like, I think I'm into Mario out of nowhere. And it was so funny.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
God.
Well, then on speaking on mods and Resident Evil, don't look up that community because those are crazy.
Chris Redfield can do anything he wants to me. Okay. He can have it.
Wow, Chris is the go-to. Okay, that's great.
I don't need that twinkly on. Get out of here.
Mr. X also falls into the same category, I guess. That is incredible. I think we got all the way through that, just me prompting Jacques to tell me about his time with Mario Tennis, which I knew he had recently. Grant, you've talked about I've pushed you into talking about some of your more present day experiences with having people over, exploring on your own. Are there any other fond memories from any time in your life, like big highlights for you with the console, whether it be obvious go-to games or oddities that you discovered?
I would say, and I feel like we talked about this maybe outside of the episode, but yeah, there were definitely like a lot of games. I feel like I also on the system found a lot of like, not cult games, but just like smaller games that are definitely well known, like Snowboard Kids. I love that series. Vigilante 8. I love that series, which is basically like a Twisted Metal ripoff that had its own little following. And there's like all these kind of little series that lived and died on the N64. And it's kind of like, I definitely like saw some post years ago online that was like, why was there never another Snowboard Kids? And then someone's response was because the 90s ended. I was like, oh, that's cruel and true. But yeah, I feel like, I just have a lot of memories of friends coming over and playing like Mario Tennis, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my best friends in like second, third grade, Mario Tennis. Pokemon Stadium had those mini games in it that were great.
Oh yeah.
Just replayed a bunch of those on the analog with some people. And, it just had a lot of like, I mean, the Mario parties are also great if you want to end your friendships. It just had a lot of like multiplayer focus, and I think a lot of people had a lot of night. I mean, we didn't even talk about GoldenEye. We didn't even talk about Perfect Dark. Like there's so many multiplayer games on the system. And speaking of Star Fox, like we played a lot of it's got the most basic multiplayer mode that exists. And, we were just, when you have 4 people playing that multiplayer mode, it's like actually pretty crazy and evenly balanced. I feel like when you only have 1 or 2, it's not very fun at all. But then people didn't know that there was like an on foot mode in Star Fox 64 where you can spawn the characters to be running around with machine guns on their shoulders.
Yes.
Weird. I didn't know that.
It's terrible. It's like the weirdest controls you've ever seen in your life, where it's like A is run and Z is jump, and like the idea is like you're supposed to like stay more still and like aim up at the sky. I don't know. It's terrible, but like just playing that was a lot of fun. So definitely the multiplayer aspect is what stuck with me.
I think it's worth spending a second to talk about GoldenEye, which just like was the most nostalgia-inducing game maybe of all of the games in terms of like what people talked about for the next 15 years until they tried playing it again and were like, oh, these controls are actually the worst and impossible.
Yes.
And they've since fixed that on some subsequent releases now. But that is a hilarious game where you're like, those are my best multiplayer memories. And then you play the game and you're like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But great game.
No, it's definitely, we definitely replayed some of those. To speak of some of the hacks is like they put Mario characters and Mario levels into GoldenEye where you're running around Peach's castle and, in the GoldenEye engine. And, or they took the Perfect Dark engine and put GoldenEye inside of it. So like all the upgrades that came with Perfect Dark are available in GoldenEye now. Yeah. And there's a lot of dedicated community to that too, which is so funny because like the only way you can play it is with like an original N64 controller. Wow, and even then it's not great.
I remember before because I think they've now subsequently released the version on Switch where you can like play with modern controls. But I remember I was really excited on Steam Deck to get the ROM version that let you do the dual analogs, or dual analog stick controls, which are, more palatable.
Yeah.
That was one that we played a ton of matches, or did they just feel like they lasted long that night at Grant's house when we were playing GoldenEye together, 3-player? I can't quite remember, but we played a good amount together, and that wasn't a game that I really have nostalgia for. That and Perfect Dark were games that like friends' older brothers had that I got to play with a little bit, but maybe we didn't talk about it that night, Jacques, but it sounds like that's one you played a ton growing up.
A ton. And then I remember we loved it. We played a ton. I think maybe it's my age group playing a more violent game or something.
Sure.
You guys who are a little younger. But then also Perfect Dark, when that came out, was like they had the bots, and that was unheard of. That you're able they had it on PC, but like on a console, like my brothers and I would play. We would play us 3 versus like 3 super hard bots. Oh. And like you never got to do like the cooperative multiplayer like that. Like it was so sick. And they gave you tons of options too. Like I remember it was just like crazy how much you could control things and do things. And then it was like subsequent first person shooters didn't actually give you that much. Mm-hmm. It was GoldenEye was such a smash hit that they were able to clearly just be like, have a massive team, piling features onto the game. They probably had like 100 programmers working on it or something.
So this was something that was like, it wasn't like something people did with a Game Shark. This was part of the game.
It was just like you'd have options being like, okay, cool. I want this level difficulty bot here. I want this level difficulty bot here. You could almost make your own standalone rule sets. You could control all the rules like the way you can in like, I don't know. Like, I've always felt like Smash Brothers is a failure of giving you options in terms of like, I love Smash, but like they just don't let you control like everything the way I would like. Or Mario Kart's even worse. Like Mario Kart, I'm like, I want green shells and single mushrooms. I want that to be the only 2 items because that is like pro mode. And I think no items is like a failure to understand what makes the game special. And in both cases, honestly. But I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like Nintendo doesn't give you they're like Apple. They're like you're going to be contained in this curated ecosystem and not like go nuts and make it your own. That's not really like the Nintendo way most of the time. I don't find.
Yeah, you kind of get freedom in the way they want you to have freedom rather than options you can tinker with like that in some games.
Yeah, it's like cage-free eggs, and how you find out what cage-free eggs means is that they put a tiny little door inside by the chickens, and they're like, yeah, they can go out. They're not going to because we've made it a nightmare. Sorry to be a bummer.
They're not going to. Like, they physically can't, but they can.
They physically can't, but they can. Legally, we can call them cage-free eggs, even though they can't actually get out there. It's a fun podcast. So we're having fun.
Oh, I think it's extremely fun. But speaking of fun, something that we've all been circling, this discussion of multiplayer, I think I would be remiss if we didn't talk about how this console having four controller ports was revolutionary and opened things up for all of these different experiences that we've been talking about multiplayer-wise, from Pokemon Stadium mini games to first-person shooters to fighting games and what have you. It was great, and being able to just play with more than just 2 of you.
Yeah. When we had Super Nintendo, we had the multi-tap.
Oh.
So we could play Bomberman, my brothers and I. I know I don't shut up about them. But we would play 3-player normally, and occasionally a friend who would be worse at the game because they hadn't played as much as us. And then we were really cool. But yeah, when N64 came out and it had the 4 built in, it was like, oh, they get it. Like, they're doing it. It just basically became the standard. Now, the PlayStation 2, funny enough, that console only had 2 controller ports too. I'm sure they had a multi-tap peripheral as well, but yeah, it changed the standard for how many controllers were expected to be able to play with a console, I think. Totally. And I what's interesting is that they didn't launch with a 4-player co-op game. Like, I mean, obviously, they nailed the launch. They launched with the greatest game of all time, but they it
was like that.
You know what I mean? Like,
Pilot Wings, or was it Wave Race? One of the 2.
It was Pilot Wings.
Yeah, Pilot Wings.
Okay, gotcha. Wow. Yeah, it still took a little bit to get that off the ground.
2-player mode? I don't actually know Pilot Wings that well.
I think it might be like a 2-player mode where you go one after the other.
Yeah,
you know, where it's
like
you're like you don't actually need 2 controllers for this.
You take turns.
I'll say one more.
It's crazy that the 4 is still the standard, is all I wanted to say. It's like crazy that that's still the standard of like what you expect from a console.
Yeah.
I'm sure any more than that just couldn't work on a screen, I guess. It's just so nice to cut whatever monitor you're using into quarters. Because anything more than it's already small enough on some screens. I even remember playing on like old CRTs as a kid, and thankfully we were playing like 5 feet from the television.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I hope to have like it worked well at Grant's house. You got a big TV, works well on a lot of people's. But Jacques, I feel like you were also gearing up to say something.
Yeah, I don't even remember. But damn. I will say that we were doing when we played some Nintendo games, some multiplayer games when friends came over, like Mario Kart World. Like I had my projector, which is a 110-inch screen, And you just like do the math and you're like, oh, cool. Each of us has a 60 and a 55 inch TV effectively. You're like, sweet.
That is great.
It was awesome.
Oh,
I was going to say, I actually played N64 on the release day.
Oh.
My friend Duncan Blake Finley, who was actually my brother's friend, who I like really wormed my way into also being friends with.
Yes.
He got an N64 and Mario 64 and Pilot Wings on the day it came out, and we went over and Taylor and I slept over.
Oh.
And it was so fun. The side note about her, and I think I said this on an episode with you, Connor. I'm sure I did.
I think you did.
It was also the first house where I ever had homemade popcorn. Like someone made like popcorn on the stove and like put salt and butter and stuff. And I remember just being so into it, and she would make it for me every time. And I started to feel like a little bad, but I also love the popcorn, so I didn't feel that bad. But yeah, it was so fun playing it. We just like played Mario 64 all night and Pilot Wings for like 15 minutes.
God, that's amazing. Grant, do you have any memories growing up that still stand tall in your mind, kind of like that one of playing of like an N64 night or day?
I remember my first time ever playing N64 before I owned it. I was probably 6, and I was being babysat at someone's house. Like I went over to I don't even know who, like went over to someone's, probably a, work friend of my father or something. And like went over there, and they had a kid who and a babysitter, and they had an N64, and I had never played it before, and they had Super Mario 64, and I remember just like being scared of that game, like at a young age, of just like there are parts of that game that are legitimately, I don't know. I feel like and I feel like I touched on this in my episode a bit, but I feel like the N64 was like the last console where you had to fill in the blanks with your mind a little bit. Like the whole console's kind of crude. And so, you'd look at the instruction manual to see like, what is this supposed to actually look like? But like, it also like is kind of terrifying. Like there's a lot of like terrifying enemies in Zelda just because like they're so rudimentary, like just like in their simple design, like something's a little off. And so like even like Mario, it's like they hadn't rounded out the edges quite yet. And so like Mario drowning in Super Mario 64 is like the most graphic thing
Yes.
that like would never fly today. Like that's like, it's definitely been like they've adjusted the image of what Mario is. But that's just like horrific. Like
like in the original games, normally he'd just fall down a pit or hit some spikes, and he kind of like comically goes, "Oh no!" And then, I mean, he doesn't even say anything in the old games, but then falls off the screen. That's it. In this game, the camera like zooms in on him if he's getting sucked into like quicksand, or his eyes go white.
And he like looks at the screen and he's like, "You did this," and he like says, "You did this" to the player, and you're like, "Oh no!"
Even like landing like from a large thing, he falls, and the noise he makes is like, ah! It's like
yes,
it's not like whoa. It's just like someone karate kicked him in the gut.
Yes,
like,
there are things that I'm sure were intended to be scary in the design of that game, and then there are so many things that I don't think they could have ever planned on, whether it be how kind of creepy the castle is, or the just designs of certain levels. I don't have any good specific examples right now. Or
the
just
one with the bugs, the one with like the bugs and the like the like gorges or whatever, where you're like, that one's creeped me out for some reason. I think the music's creepy. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's
is it Hazy Maze Cave?
Hazy Maze Cave, yeah.
Yeah, genuinely. I remember as a child going to also Boom Mansion.
Yeah,
is kind of scary in the game too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I like
in
that you
hindsight,
said they hadn't softened the edges. Like literally, the polygons look sharp and scary. Like they are like aggressive. They're not the soft round sprites we're used to.
Yes,
it's truly like also similar to like the whole back rooms phenomenon of like horror, and just like there's a whole like and I don't know the beginning of this, like creepypasta or whatever the hell that's called, but like there's a whole Super Mario 64 like centered world around creepy early graphical like things like that exist. And it really feeds into that like a little bit of fear of just like something's off here. It's like so simple that something's off in a way, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the N64 was like the last one we had that did that. And now they intentionally like design games to be like that, to be scary.
Absolutely.
I remember my friend Augie had this really funny joke about how in like NES games you would just like get to a position where like you couldn't progress the level, so you had to consciously jump into a hole to kill yourself. And him being like how heady that is like a little 5-year-old just having to be like, all right, jump off the edge.
The solution is death.
Yeah. It's so funny.
That is very funny phenomenon. Yeah, like you move the screen because the screen can't go left or right or whatever.
Right.
It only goes right, and then you just have the pit to fall into. Who knows?
Exactly.
One of the last few things I wanted to ask you guys before I wrap up the pod is there anything N64 related? This might be a little more relevant for Grant, but Jacques, I'm holding out hope. Is there anything N64 related that remains a curiosity to that you want to dive into? I guess what I'm asking is there a game out there that you want to play or have always had your eye on? Does anything come to mind for either of you?
I never played Sin and Punishment. People say that game's fun.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think for the longest time it was only released in Japan until like the Wii Virtual Console brought it, but now I think it's on NSO.
Is Mother 3, was that N64?
It was originally
in Japan. Or no, that's how it started. Yeah, that's how it started, and then it was Game Boy Advance. Sorry.
No, no apologies necessary. But I do
no,
like that
it's
you
a good
apologized.
apology. It's a good apology.
No, yeah, Mother 3 started as an N64 developed title, and it was shown at different expos. There's every so often new information will come out about whatever that game was supposed to look like. I think even like this calendar year, a new image has come out from like an expo that has never been seen. So that's pretty fascinating as well that it started there. I would love to see what that could have looked like.
Yeah, speaking of like unreleased things, a crazy thing that happened, I guess it was like 6 years ago at this point, but the Giga Leak for Nintendo.
Yes.
Where like they like tons of data somehow got stolen from Nintendo's archives, and it's all like N64 stuff. And so there's like maps that they had talked about in interviews for Mario Kart 64 that they were able to like find in this data dump. And then also like they've got the original model from Super Mario 64 of Luigi, you know, who was never like programmed beyond like just like a test. And it's like, oh yeah, the N64 can't handle this.
Despite all the rumors that went around kinda, growing up.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, there's like one video out there of like just the like test area of them like trying to figure that out. But I don't know. It's always fascinating to see that stuff still gets released. And not saying someone needs to hack into Nintendo. Hopefully they don't. But the fact that there's still like a gold mine out there of like seeing what they were trying to do, you know. That's always fascinating to me.
I think my favorite things that came out of the Giga Leak were the uncompressed audio files of voice acting from Nintendo 64 games, like from Star Fox 64 specifically.
Yep.
Jacques, you aware of this?
Well, no. When I heard about this, I thought it was like immoral to listen to any of it or read any of it, so I didn't.
I respect that.
Oh, of course.
I respect that a lot.
Yeah. You know, and this was a test and you passed.
Yeah. No, but I mean, those are iconic audio clips.
Yes. Hearing just like a crisp as day, clear as day, the guy, whoever voice acted Peppy, just do a barrel roll and it not sound like it's been thrown through a blender. It's amazing.
Thanks, Fox. I thought they had me.
Yeah.
I feel like I could quote that entire game playing.
Yes.
It.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
You're beginning to look. What do you say? Like act more like your father.
You're beginning to act more like your father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Me and
So
that
Hey,
came up a lot.
Einstein, I'm on your side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, spot on.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. You got to answer the question, right? Right, Grant, talking about or did you? I want to make sure I
Yeah.
gave you. Okay, cool.
Yeah. In terms of games, the game I really need
Yes,
to play,
that's
and
right.
I'm ashamed to admit it, is I have not played all of Perfect Dark. I have not gotten through that entire game.
Oh, neither
So
have I,
that's
and I
probably
never
on my
will. I'll tell you
list.
that.
I mean, I feel like the fact that her name is Joanna Dark is like, you're like, okay.
I more so, because I didn't play those so much growing up and wasn't comfortable with the controls, they're so foreign to me. Like when we played even just GoldenEye together, I just was having a lot of fun playing with my friends, but I was getting wiped on
Yeah.
that thing. But
It was
Yeah,
sick.
no,
We
I
were
get
just
it.
shooting Connor left and right. Grant and I were like bullying
Yeah.
Connor, basically. It was sweet.
yeah, you
Yeah,
want to go that way.
just
There's
like-
nothing bad there.
No, Connor, you're just looking at the floor. If you run forward a little bit, there's a proximity mine.
Grant kept calling out to his wife, being like, hey, Tori, come see this.
Yeah.
Come see this.
Come look at my idiot friend. Grant, I feel like I kind of poo-pooed your desire or your feeling. There's responsibility you kind of feel to play Perfect Dark someday.
Someday. I did discover it is cool how they I didn't realize you could play as an enemy in that game. Like a second player could play as an enemy to try to stop the player from succeeding in the mission. And I was like, there's a lot
It's
of pretty cool
nuts.
ideas in that,
They
actually.
went nuts. Like,
Yeah.
I'm truly convinced GoldenEye was such a hit that Rare was just like flushed with cash, whatever team made it, and they were just like, let's go crazy on this.
Man.
Oh, actually, the other one I haven't played is Conker's Bad Fur Day. Admittedly, I have not played that one, and I love platformers. So,
And you love edgelord humor too.
yeah, that's probably why I haven't played it. I've seen clips, and I'm like,
You're like, they kind of stole
I'm
my
sure it's
style.
great. Yeah,
That for me too is one that
that
I've
game
never
raised
played.
me.
Yeah. I really want to
Yeah.
get into it. Did you ever play that, Jacques?
I played it, like I got the ROM later and like played it. I remember it being like pretty good, and also
Yeah.
like it was like 20 years ago, but I remember being like, it's not that bad.
Sure.
Maybe I might be a little more sensitive now, but I don't know.
hmm
I literally Googled while we were talking, because I'm a rude podcast guest, is Conker's Bad Fur Day homophobic? And it was like, nah, not really. There's one character who's like maybe a little effeminate
hmm
in a way that's like kind of ridiculed. And then I was like, is it racist? And that was the one I was really scared about. And it was like, no.
Oh, Banjo-Kazooie's got a little racism in it, but I'm glad to hear Conker is clean. What an ally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
What an ally.
I actually should have someone coming on the regular version of the show in the next few months to talk about that game. But like you, Grant, I've never played it all the way through. And hell, I mean, I just admitted I've never played Kazooie all the way through, and I'm about to finally get into that.
Definitely should.
Well, to close things out, I'm going to make you two put a little bit of a stamp on the place that the N64 holds for both of you. So, Jacques, I'll turn to you second to let you think, because you just put your face in your hand. Grant, if you could sort of distill whatever place the N64 has held in your life, how would you do that?
Try and be really poetic. Really
Oh
poetic.
no, he put his
again.
face in his hands. What am I supposed to do?
I do feel like it's scary that it's been 30 years. I'd feel like it's like our parents were so, at least growing up, were like so nostalgic for like the 60s and 70s. And I feel like it occurred to me that like, oh, this is the 90s are pretty much our 60s and 70s.
Ooh, can I
90s, 2000s.
Can I kind of pitch like an alternate way to say that?
I'm scared.
When we were growing up, I kind of remember our parents being so nostalgic for the 60s and the 70s. And now for us, we're so nostalgic about the 64s. I don't know. Is that something?
I saw it coming a mile away. I was like, oh no.
I'm
That's
sorry.
beautiful.
Grant, continue.
No. Well, so I just think that it's kind of like, I don't know. the fundamental like time and like you said about Toy Story of like the nostalgia of things. This certain area was still rough around the edges, and people have it so good now. But at the same time, like we were all went through it together, so everyone is on the same page when it comes to the games and whatnot. So I think it holds a unique place in everyone's heart. And at least speaking from my own experience, it kind of actually probably is the system that I enjoyed the most. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the ones after and before are great. And, it wasn't my first system, but it probably was like the most defining one for me, I'd say.
Grant's crying. If you're not watching, Grant is crying as he's saying this.
Silent tears streaming from his tear ducts.
Yeah.
Well,
not
Jacques.
like those loud tears.
Here, wait,
not like those
wait,
loud,
wait.
drippy tears.
Sorry. To play the July Diaz
yes
one again. Here's the latest. The latest one.
For the audio listeners, it's a child Link, like 3D printed looking model. Oh, he's wiping Grant's tears. That looks specifically like Majora's Mask Link, too.
Wait, now he's ripping out the eye. He's trying to rip the eyeball out. Oh, no. Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Grant. No.
God, his grip is incredible. No wonder he can pull giant blocks. Can I see that?
I think my wife might be correct. It's the nerdiest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I don't have the shield on him, but
well, I can tell based on like the way. This is what I'm about to say. I can tell the way that Child Link's bangs fall in each game which model it is. Like I knew that was Majora looking at it. That's a kind of a cool thing about me.
Didn't know you were such a hair connoisseur.
Dude, that's so pimp.
It is. It's quite pimp, isn't it?
That's sick.
Jacques, good luck following up that sentimental sort of retrospective wrap-up from Grant. But, yeah, for you, what place does this console hold?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like, I mean, I have so much nostalgia for it for all the reasons I've spoken about. I mean, I would say check out the Wave Race episode of this podcast. I thought it was really fun. I kind of detailed this whole scam I did.
So awesome.
But anyway, I'd say this is interesting because both Super Nintendo and N64 are consoles that we only got later.
Sure.
Like my family meaning. Like, because we had a Genesis and then we got a Super Nintendo. We had a PlayStation and then we got an N64. So this is the craziest thing. We never owned Super Mario World and we never owned Mario 64. Like I played those games extensively via like friends, and for some reason my grandmother had a Super Nintendo. But it's like this console I came to, like I was playing it all the time, but I just have it's just like a sense of wonder about it because it was so new and fresh. And once again, just like if you played Resident Evil, you were like, wow, 3D is here, and you were like, doesn't feel great. And then you played Mario 64, and that was by far the biggest leap in gaming of all time. Like, I don't think there's anything close. Like, you could argue maybe like online multiplayer or something like that and various things like that. But I truly think controlling Mario and Mario 64 is like the biggest leap that ever happened in video games. And it was the best.
Fantastic. Well, you two, look at you. We made it a whole hour and change in, and you two have just been such wonderful guests in your matching gray shirts. It truly is the same shade of gray. It's incredible. And with a little
they both have pockets.
The same pocket in the same spot. Incredible.
Oh no.
Thank you two so much for being here. This was awesome getting to discuss this with both of you. Jacques, Grant, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Of course.
You're welcome.
Of course.
Like we always say, call us by your games.
Yeah. On the way out, fellas, before I plug a bunch of stuff, do either of you have anything you'd like to plug on the way out? Grant, maybe I'll start with you.
You can follow me on Instagram. It's rant_more with 1 O for lovely film photography as usual. Got a couple of fun creative things in the work, but I'm not going to hold myself to finishing. I'm going to announce my podcast.
Good. Hey, you know what, partner? Never finish them. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, I'll put your link to your Instagram in the show notes. Jacques Mouledoux, what do you want to plug, pal?
I just want to mention again, Connor and I have a really awesome game that we're really reaching the finish line on called Send in the Clown, which is like an hour-long comedy RPG about like saving a little girl's disastrous birthday party. And I'm like super proud of it, and I can't wait for people to play it. We have nothing to share from it because we haven't announced it officially, but just to the listeners of this episode, like, stay tuned. I think if you enjoy this podcast, you'll enjoy the game because it has kind of like a lot of Connor's like humor and heart.
And none of what Jacques brings to the table. So if you didn't like him, then you're in luck.
And it also has a pinch of Grant.
Well, just to clarify, I have not played the game, so I cannot endorse it yet. So
Okay, great.
I can't wait until once we are ready to start really promoting that, because that's all the listeners will be hearing about on the podcast. Well, thank you both. I'll go ahead and plug a bunch of stuff of my own, and anything that you just plugged or that I'm about to plug can be found in a link in the show notes, including the cover art for Call Me By Your Game is done by the artist Glenn J. You can find him on his Instagram page in the show notes. You can also, give a thank you to the producer, the editor, and the guy who did the original music for this podcast, Jeremy Schmidt. You can follow Call Me By Your Game on Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube. And again, this is a great episode to watch the video version of because we had some great visual, I guess not cues, but visual flourishes from
gags.
Grant.
Gags.
Oh, we're calling them
as we call them.
Gags. I
In
mean,
the television industry.
if you want to, you can just take my word for it, how close the color of these gray shirts are. But if you see it, you're gonna thank me. So check us out. Give us a follow on YouTube if you don't already. We post every episode there, including the co-op episodes, which are Patreon exclusive behind the $10 paywall. But we put those out a week later for free on the video version, so you can still watch those somehow if you're interested. You can also follow me on not Twitter. God, I almost said Twitter. On Blue Sky and Instagram. And then lastly, again, check us out on Patreon over at patreon.com/supernpcradio to find more bonus video game podcasts from me and a bunch of people who've been on this show before. That'll do it for another episode of the N64 Diaries. We'll see you next month for episode 4. Bye-bye for now.